It does, yeah. It specifically talks about the wigs and how practical effects could have been a lot more effective in certain scenes.
I see.
Really pull you in, make it feel more real.
Right.
Like that inverted reflection scene, for example.
Okay, yeah.
Imagine if they had actually flipped Ding Yuxi, the actor who plays Mu Sheng, upside down and used like wind effects to create that otherworldly feeling.
That would have been so cool.
Right. The analysis says those little details can make a big difference.
They really can.
In terms of how immersed you are in the story.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But going back to the author's psychology.
Yes.
And how it shows up in the narrative.
Okay.
We were talking about Mu Sheng, right?
Yes.
Representing both Fu Zhou's desires and his limitations.
Right.
And the analysis actually goes even deeper.
It does, yeah.
And suggests that Mu Sheng's inability to fully consummate his relationship with the protagonist is symbolic.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And I know that might seem like a strange thing to focus on, but in Chinese fantasy dramas, those romantic elements are usually
a big deal.
Yeah, really important.
Right.
So are you saying that this lack of a traditional romantic resolution reflects the author's emotional blocks?
Exactly. That's the idea.
That's pretty intense.
It is. It's like Mu Sheng, as Fu Zhou, can't really break free.
He can't break free from the author's own limitations.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like Fu Zhou, through Mu Sheng, is hesitant to fully explore, embrace romantic love.
Okay, so the romance or the lack of it becomes this commentary.
It's a meta-commentary.
On the author's limitations.
Exactly. And it adds this whole other layer of depth to the story.
Yeah, it does. It's really making me rethink this drama.
Oh, I'm glad. It's really fascinating stuff.
But the story doesn't completely ignore romance, right?
Right.
Like we see other characters, Mu Yao and Lu Fuyi, having a more traditional love story.
They do, and the analysis points that out. It highlights how those characters even have the classic bridal chamber scene.
Yeah.
That trope that symbolizes consummation.
Yeah, it's a big moment in a lot of these dramas.
It is.
So is the analysis suggesting that by giving that scene to other characters, but not Mu Sheng and the protagonist,
it's further emphasizing that they are not the focus.
They're not the focus of the romance.
Exactly.
That's really interesting.
Right. It's like the author is playing with our expectations.
Yeah, subverting the tropes.
Yes, subverting them in a way that reflects his own view of love.
Okay, so it's not just about the absence of romance.
Right.
It's about where the romance is directed.
Exactly.
That's a cool way to look at it.
It's all part of the bigger picture.
And remember how we connected Mu Sheng's half-demon nature to Fu Zhou's illness?
Oh, yeah.
This ties into the themes of coping mechanisms.
Right.
And that blurry line between fiction and reality.
Exactly.
The analysis suggests that Fu Zhou might be using the story, and Mu Sheng especially, to work through his own issues.
Yeah. His emotions, challenges.
So the drama becomes more than just fantasy romance.
Yes.
It's a personal exploration
of the author's inner world.
That makes you wonder how much of ourselves ends up in the stories we tell.
Even without meaning to.
That's a deep thought.
It is, and it's one of the reasons why I love analyzing stories.
Me too.
And exploring those different meanings.
Yeah, because it helps us understand the power of stories.
Yeah, and how they can be used to explore these complex things.
Complex themes.
Emotions, struggles.
Well, even personal ones.
Exactly, sometimes in ways we don't even realize.
I'm starting to think about all my favorite stories in a new light.
I know, right?
It's like there's always more to uncover.
Always.
This has been so insightful.
I'm glad. I hope it's been the same for you listening.
Yeah. Have you noticed any parallels between the characters and the author's life?
What themes have resonated with you?
What stood out to you so far?
What questions are you grappling with?
This is your deep dive too,
We're just here to guide you.
Encourage you to think critically about what you're seeing.
We believe that every story has something valuable to offer.
But it's up to us, the audience,
to engage thoughtfully
and to come to our own conclusions.
And love game in Eastern fantasy.
It's a great example of a story that rewards that deeper exploration.
It's full of symbolism, complex characters, thought-provoking themes.
Absolutely. And while this analysis offers one interpretation, it's definitely not the only one.
Art invites multiple perspectives.
It does.
So as you keep watching, or maybe rewatching Love Game in Eastern fantasy, keep those questions coming. Challenge your assumptions.
And see where your interpretations lead you.
Because sometimes the most rewarding discoveries are the ones we make ourselves.
Yeah, it's like we're getting this peek behind the curtain,
Right.
Seeing how the author's life might have shaped the story.
And that's what's so cool about this analysis.
Yeah.
It goes beyond just, like, reviewing the plot.
Right.
It digs into how stories are made.
It's meta.
It's super meta. Like, what can we learn about the creator from what they create?
It makes you wonder if all stories are kind of like that. Like, reflecting the author in some way.
Even if it's not on purpose.
Yeah, even subconsciously.
This is a really cool thought.
It is.
Yeah.
And it makes me think back to what we were saying about those titles.
Oh, yeah. Eternal Nightstar River versus Love Game in Eastern Fantasy.
Totally different vibes.
Right.
Yeah.
And the analysis actually brings up that the English translation is even more evocative than the Brazilian Portuguese one.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, the Portuguese one just focuses on game.
I see.
But the English title keeps that fantasy feeling.
Right, Eastern fantasy.
Exactly. And that could appeal to a wider audience.
So even the translation process, like, adds another layer.
It does. It's not just about the words, right?
It's about the tone, who the story is for.
Exactly. Eternal Nightstar River sounds huge, like an epic. Love Game sounds lighter, maybe more romantic.
Right. And then you have that scene where they talk about bamboo shoots.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
The analysis uses that to show the author's biases, right?
Right. It's a simple thing.
Yeah.
But all the characters see it differently.
And that, according to the analysis, reveals something about the author.
About his worldview, yeah.
It's like he's limited in how he sees things.
And that shapes the whole story.
That's a really interesting way to look at it.
It is, but it could also just be a funny scene.
Right, to show the characters' personalities.
Exactly. There are always multiple ways to see things.
And that's what makes analyzing stories so much fun.
It really is. It's like a puzzle.
You're putting the pieces together.
To figure out the author's intentions.
The deeper meaning.
Right. And that's the beauty of really engaging with a story. It becomes this back and forth.
Yeah.
Between the author, the text, and us as the audience.
And speaking of connections, the analysis mentioned that parallel between Love Game and Inuyasha.
Oh, yeah, the anime.
Yeah, I thought that was so interesting.
It makes you wonder if Fu Zhou was inspired by it.
Right. Both stories have that strong female lead.
Yeah, and a half-demon character.
And that group of friends facing the supernatural.
It really highlights how stories can influence each other.
Yeah, across different cultures.
Different genres.
It's like a giant web of narratives.
Exactly. And for those who loved Eternal Love.
Oh, yes.
There's a little Easter egg in Love Game.
Yeah, with the casting.
So many actors from Eternal Love show up.
It's like a reunion.
It is. It's a little nod to the fans.
Like, we see you, we know you love these stories.
And those details, they really add to the experience.
Especially for people who are deep into Chinese dramas.
Totally. This whole deep dive has been amazing.
I know, right? I'm seeing Love Game in a whole new light.
I'm so glad.
Yeah?
And we hope it's been the same for you listening.
We really want to encourage you to keep exploring this story.
And other stories too, yeah.
Look for those hidden layers, those connections to the author's life.
The ways the story might be reflecting society, or maybe challenging it.
Because the best stories are the ones that still with you.
Yeah, the ones that make you think.
Make you question things.
Think you see the world differently.
And we always love to hear from you.
We do. So, what resonated with you during this deep dive?
What new things did you learn about Love Game?
Share your thoughts, your questions, your own connections to the story.
Because every deep dive is a journey, and we're all on it together.
Until next time.
Happy watching.